It's kind of just a I guess a custom breakout session.
Okay, okay.
Is there any way you could repeat that last few like seconds you said about the blog part?
Sure, which part?
Uh,
So this is our form.
yes.
Our form is asking for a text input for the title,
Mm.
another text input for content, and then we're giving a list of the users that have been made, which are going to be under the name creator, and the value will be that user's ID. When all this is submitted, it will be sent to our create blog URL
Mm-hmm.
that is here. That will take us here to our create blog function. And then essentially what we're going to do is we're going to create a blog object in the same way we did our user object, filling out the different attributes of our blog with the information that was put in through the form. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then we didn't call that text, we called that content. So we have to make sure that those match. So title is coming from the name of this input type, content coming from the name of this input type, and then creator is going to come from the name of this input type. And then how am I going to do this? Am I just going to do a request.post creator? Is that going to give me what I need to make this foreign key work? Or is there another little step that I need to do? There is another step that I need to do. Because all this is doing is giving me the user ID, and this needs to be a user object, I need to use this to find the user object. So what I'm going to do there is going to say user.object. Actually, I'm going to do this to make it a little easier to read. I'm going to do it out here. So user is going to be equal to user.objects.get, where the ID of that user is equal to the ID given to us in the form. And that will find a user in our database, assign it this variable, and then we can essentially just put that there, right?
So
Everybody
you
think that that looks
create a
good?
variable to make that user variable in creator.
Exactly. And I could have just put all of this there instead of that, but I think this makes it a little bit more readable.
Now, so like this, that user variable you created, that will get the creator in the blog part.
Well, so this is just the ID number, remember?
Okay.
When we did this, the value is just the user ID.
Mhm.
So this isn't the entire user object, but we can use this to get a hold of the entire user object from our database, which is why we wanted it. So we use that, and this is essentially the same. Whoops, sorry, not that. This is essentially the same as saying like user ID is equal to, 1
Okay.
or equal to 3 or equal to whatever it is we want. It's just it's coming from the form.
Now,
So whatever
what
number that
if you
is
wanted
should
to
find.
grab something else in that models like title or text?
Sorry, what?
What if you wanted to grab something else from that model like title or text?
From which model?
From the blog model.
Grab it for what reason?
Like if you were like say like if you were going like instead of like if you wanted to add like a title but just a title instead of like instead of adding to everything.
Hmm. Well, I mean, that's what this is doing.
Hmm.
This is creating the title for that object. But because it also has these other fields, we need to make sure that those are filled out as well.
Hmm.
And then when we go to edit, we could do something like change just the title if we wanted to.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes. So essentially, you instead of putting that in here, you would have to put it in edit for like things like to do that.
Yeah, because otherwise we're going to get an error saying, hey, you didn't add anything to this field. All right, so where do we want to redirect?
Back to index.
Well, index is going to take us to the users page. So let's try to get back here. How could we get back here?
Create blog.
/blogs.
Yeah,
No, we're going
exactly.
to create
So we're
blog,
going
right?
here. Well, we've already created a blog. That's what's gotten us here.
Oh, so
See,
we're going to /blog. Okay.
these four URLs are just for handling data, and
Mhm.
these are going to be for rendering HTML. Once this is done, we now want to render some HTML, so we need to redirect one of these.
Okay.
What do you guys think? It's just going to be blogs like that?
No
Slash in the beginning? Awesome. All right, and then let's do this real quick. Blogs. And is that where I put it? This will give us just a link so that we can go back and forth. And let me share my screen with you guys real quick. All right, you guys see this all right?
Yes.
All right, so we have our users. We have our link that says blogs. If we go here, we have our little create a blog form. We can title our blog, we can add some content, and then it looks like we have a list of all of our users. So let's have this be just first blog. And then whose blog is this? Purple Slippers. All right, so it went through, we didn't get an error, but nothing's showing up here. Let's see why that is. All right, so lock.objects.all. Ah, I see why. Do you guys see why? So if this is our portion that's giving us all of our blogs, and it's supposed to be giving us the blog title.
CSR.
No, CSRF's right here.
Never mind.
You don't have anything to show it.
No, this is showing up. We had the little bullet point.
Oh yeah, blog.
It's just not actually showing any. Do you guys see the error?
You're just doing the ID when you're not showing the blog itself, like the.
Well, all I
comment in
want is the
blog.
title.
Oh, you don't want the title, okay.
All right, so the problem
blog.
is that this is a blog object, and our blog object is here. All of the attributes are right here, and it needs to be, yeah, it needs to have the same spelling, same capitalization. So
Capital B, yeah.
to make sure that's a capital T. This can be lowercase because we use that as a lowercase variable, but the T needs to be uppercase to match our blog object. So now we go here. You guys see the screen?
Yes.
All right, so we have our blog title. Let's do second blog. Did it again. This one will be done by Rubber Baby Buggy Bumpers. And then that one shows up. Awesome. So let's see, let's add some more information. What else do you think we should have instead of just the title? We don't want the content because the content can be huge and we don't want to pick up that page, but maybe we can add the user.
Yeah, whoever created the.
Yeah, a little created by. Let's actually make that. Yeah, let's do like that, I suppose. Created by. And then how would we get that?
Username.
Well, are we looking at users? We're looking at blogs, right?
So
how can
blog creator.
Exactly. Blog dot creator. But that's not entirely it because this is going to get me a user object. So what else do I need?
.username,
Exactly.
because you get the object and then you want to know more specifically which is their username.
Exactly. So this is my blog object, which is referencing a user object, and then I want the username from that user object that is connected to that blog object.
Dakota,
Yes.
I have just a little question.
Of course.
Now, one thing I'm trying to understand is this. How is it that you end up having, the blog object, which is basically referencing from the blog models? Because in this case, the blog object is basically lowercase b, and the blog model itself is uppercase b. So how do we move from that to that?
Oh yeah, good question. All right. So this is the main thing to focus on.
That's
so
right.
all blogs here is my iterable or my container of all the blogs. And I know that because I've passed it through here using this function from my database to capture all the blogs. So the for loop is saying for some like variable, which will point to all the blogs in my blogs. I can then sort of manipulate that variable. So this doesn't actually refer to anything based on its name, but because of the fact that it is in all blogs. So this could actually be pineapple, and it would still work as long as these were all the same. Or it could be X, for X in all blogs. In the same way that when we use for loops in other parts of Python, if we say for like for X in range of, 0 to 100, X becomes those numbers, correct? If I were to say print X, I would get a string of numbers between 0 and 99. Even though X itself isn't a number, it is reaching into this and becoming those numbers. In the same way, this blog or this variable is reaching into this collection of blogs and becoming each object as it goes through.
Makes sense, because the thing is, I think my problem is I keep forgetting that we're referencing through the context, and in the context is where we've actually appended this. So then in that case, I just need to refer to whatever's in the context and take it from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just remember that this is a variable.
That's right.
I call it blog because it makes it easier for me to sort of remember what it's referring to, and I think it makes the code more readable, but it could be anything. It could be X.
Okay. In fact, in my case, actually, the issue was that all blogs. All blogs, how we end up with all blogs being basically this is almost representative of whatever we're picking from the models. And I realized what's the interface between all blogs and the models is actually the context. Because
Exactly.
the context will pull. And for me, it's just now at the HTML is for me to refer to whatever we have in the contexts. And
exactly.
and in this case, if you appended the key all blogs. So for me, it's just whatever variable I'll assign to the loop, it's this variable in whatever's in the context. Then from there, we just carry on.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And
I think it's crystal clear now.
Perfect. Is it clear for everybody else? Did that make sense? Or does anybody else have any questions on that?
Real quick, can you? I see the views for that again.
Yeah.
For that function. Okay, just because because I was wondering how I was wondering about the lowercase on the HTML, but seeing that you have the uppercase in the function.
Yeah. So this is just Yeah, essentially just the key for this value. And this doesn't necessarily have, again, it's another variable, so it doesn't have to refer to anything. The name doesn't matter. I just think calling it all blogs makes it easy to read.
Yeah, because in fact, I'm thinking if we wanted, because in this case, all blogs just pick out everything. If it was a context where we wanted one particular thing, we could sort of just give it, say, maybe a specific blog.objects.specific get, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then from there we work with that. So, I mean, context, you probably want to pick everything and just filter at the HTML.
Yeah, unless, as we're going to do here in a second, I want to see just one blog.
So in that case, we can maybe just pick a specific one.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. That's great.
All right, and so I'm actually going to change this. This should be blog ID, it's not user ID, which means that I also need to change it here. Because I want to see a specific blog. All right, so let me show you about that change that we just made. So this thing. That is right here. You guys see that?
Yes, we do.
All right, perfect. So we have the blog title, created by, and then the user that we've associated it with. And we can keep going if we want. Third blog, even more bloggier. And this one will be pink elephants. There we go. So now we can see all the blogs. We can see all the users. But let's try to see if we can see specific blogs. Let's figure out how to do that.
Before you get to that, Dakota, how did you do where it says created by? Is it because of the
this
list?
part?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just added it in regular HTML text. So it pulls these out as variables, adds this because it's not surrounded by anything, and then pulls that out as a variable.
And that just does it as you type it in.
What do you mean? Sorry.
Like when they enter it into the main page, it'll just pop that out on the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was my question too. That's why I was suggesting get P tag earlier, because like, oh, don't need a P tag. You can just type it in.
Yep. All right. Any other questions? And so this makes sense to you guys? Why it's like coming up automatically when I create? It's essentially reloading the page and pulling out all the blogs in my database. And since I've just created a blog, there's a new one, and that gets added to the end of the list. And it looks to us as users like it's happening instantly, but that entire process behind the scenes is that this is getting bundled up. It is being sent to this URL, create a blog. That is going here, which sends it here. This blog is being created. We're being redirected again back to the blogs page. This context is getting rebuilt and re-rendered, and it's being put back onto the HTML, and it all happens fairly instantly.
Makes sense.
Cool. All right, so let's have a view blog page.
Hey, Dakota, I had a question about just in general, the way you had it set up.
Mhm.
Like when you set up this project, you made a bunch of like comments for preparing.
Yeah.
Will that generally work for any assignment, particularly in like Coding Dojo assignment?
What, making comments?
No, like before you started a project, you made a bunch of
pseudocode.
comments.
Oh, this?
Yeah.
Like the layout and everything?
No, not that. Like in your views, you had everything set up. Like, well,
Oh.
okay, I'm gonna do this. and you passed everything before you actually like started.
I don't think so. I think that's just a Python specific. Typically, there is something like that with other languages, with like JavaScript and C#. I don't think it
Oh
won't
no
just
no
be
okay.
pass.
I should rephrase my question. So like what before you start all this, you made all your okay, so before I start this, I know I'm gonna want this, this, and this. Like you know how you
Oh
have your
yeah.
comments, render views go here, redirects go here.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
generally you could do this for any assignment.
Yeah. In fact, I mean, I think it makes especially these bigger assignments much easier. And
Yeah.
once you get into the other stacks, I think you'll get, you know, more and more used to the structure of these projects, and you'll get your own special rhythm that kind of makes it work better for you. But having some sort of organization, it doesn't necessarily need to be this. This works for me. I think makes it go so much smoother, so much faster, so much easier.
Yeah, because I feel like if you don't have it planned out first before you actually start working on it, you might like forget along the way, like why is my code broken? Oh, I forgot to implement this method and etc.
Exactly. Or the worst thing is when you're trying to like create a user and you're getting an error, and your create user function is somewhere in the middle of all your code.
Yeah.
And you're trying to find it specifically, and it redirects you somewhere else. And you're like, oh, well, where is it redirecting me to? And you're scrolling through all your code trying to find that. And it's just, it's just kind of a waste of time, and it makes it, it's just making it more difficult on yourself.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Um, I think I've told most everybody in the class, but in case you haven't heard it, when I went through, I had a small whiteboard, just a little personal whiteboard that I kept with me, and it helped with algorithms, but it also helped with these bigger projects, sort of planning them out. It let me draw up wireframes pretty easily, erase them and edit them as I need. I definitely recommend, if you have that ability or the, to get a whiteboard, I would do so. Or something similar. If you have a tablet, maybe drawing on that would be good. All right. So I just put together this view blog HTML. This will be to view a single blog, so we can see the title, see the content, and see who created it. So let me, and I'm not going to copy that. Put my container, put my row, and then let's see, column. This can be, we're only doing one blog, so let's get that set up in our views, and then we'll come back to that. So one blog right here. How do we want to get our blog from our database to our HTML? We want to use context, and then what do you guys think? We know how to get all of our blogs. How are we just going to get the one that we want?
With the ID, with the ID.
Yeah. So one blog, and we'll say blog.objects.get ID is equal to what?
User ID.
Close, not user ID.
For the blog ID.
The blog ID that we're passing through here, right?
Yes, sorry.
No, you're right. So we're going to do that. So that is going to get this blog object and assign it to that. And then we need to render our request, our viewblog.html, and our context. So let's see, so viewblog HTML. So now we can, since we have a hold of a blog object, we don't have to do the for loop. We can just directly get into the attributes of the blog. So we can say blog.title. We can say blog dot what was it, text. We're going to follow these attributes, and we can say blog dot creator. Those should pull those out, and then we can use some styling. Oops. Let's see. You think maybe we should add the created at the date?
So you, sorry, just to like recap, you're trying to display like one blog on another page, right?
Yep. So this is going to be our page to view just a single blog. Let's see. Let's actually move this. No, let's delete that. They created by creator, and then we'll put the text down here.
Wouldn't there be a capital B for both of those items, for blog.created and blog.creator, because those are considered the class?
No, it's going to be blog from this, because this is the variable that represents the blog object itself. So when I say blog dot, in fact, we can just say, we could put anything here. Let's say pineapple. So now pineapple represents our blog object. And to make that work, I would have to change all of these to pineapple, because that pineapple is the variable name of that blog object. This has nothing to do with this directly. Does that make sense?
I know that's what Martin was talking about earlier, but I'm not sure if it's sinking in yet. But you can keep going.
Well, so here, it's a variable in much the same way that we would say, x equals hello, and then if I wanted to say print x, I'm going to see hello, correct?
Yes.
That x isn't directly connected to the word hello, aside from this little equal sign, the fact that I'm assigning it. In the same way, this pineapple here, or blog, or whatever I want to call it, is being assigned to this object. So let's see if I can think of a better example. If I made x an array or a list, and I could actually go through x and do something like that, correct? Because x is the name or representation of this list, right?
Yes.
So this is very similar to this, because pineapple is just holding on to whatever object I've created, whatever object I'm getting out of my database. And so just like x to index 1 gets me the 2 out of this list, pineapple with the attribute title that is held on to by the variable pineapple is going to grab the title of whatever object I've grabbed out of my database here. Does that make sense? Does that help, Patty?
It's beginning to, because pineapple has nothing to do with blog,
Yeah,
class
exactly.
blog, class title, nothing of that. It's just a pineapple. So
It's just an arbitrary word.
Right. So we're just giving it a variable name, but
Exactly.
It makes sense.
In fact, we'll keep it pineapple. Just to help sort of drive that point home. But while you're making this, if it helps you to sort of give them the same name, then by all means do that. Don't think that you have to name them something different. I'm going to keep it pineapple just to sort of, like I said, drive that point home. But when you're doing it yourself, do it in whatever way makes sense to you. All right, so this should get everything out of our blog object that we have passed through here. This should render that HTML, that context. I'm also going to add these links real quick. I'm going to take that. And I'm going to take that. I like doing this because it makes it a little bit easier to navigate through my own pages. And then what I'm going to do is, oops, you guys can't see that. Let me share my screen with you real quick. All right, so can everybody see the screen?
Mm.
So the first blog should have ID 2, second blog should have ID 1, second blog should have ID 2, third blog should have ID 3. So right now we don't have any link, so I'm just going to type it in manually. If I go to blogs 2, title, second blog, created on the date, created by user object 4. So why am I getting this?
You didn't set a variable for that one to be displayed.
Well, I kind of did,
Oh.
but remember we went through this before. Hold
Can
on,
we look at the code once?
yeah, let me share it with you guys. So this is what's giving me the user object.
Because you didn't put .user.
Well, creator is a user. So you're close. Remember when I went through here?
Oh wait,
Whenever
.user.
yeah, I had to, because this is a user object. And so it's displaying what it thinks I want, which, if I show you the screen,
Is user.
it's saying, okay, here you go, I'm displaying your user object. Just what you want. But because I want it to be something a little bit more readable, I'm going to go inside that user object and I'm going to say username. So now if I reload this page, there we go. Created by Rubber Baby Buggy Bumpers. And then here's the text from my second blog. And then these links, give me going all around. That looks hideous if I go to the blog because I didn't set up my my bootstrap. So I'll do that real quick. And then I'll reload the page for you guys. There we go. And that's the magic of Bootstrap. All right, so let's make it so that if I click on the title of the blog, it will take me to that page. So I don't have to type it in manually. How do you guys think I can do that?
You can create a tag within the name, like first blog, an A tag, and the href would be wherever you want it to go.
Yeah, okay. So here where the title is, href, and just wrap up the title. And then what URL do I want it to go to?
Blogs.
Blogs, just blogs.
Brain farting.
That's okay. I wanted to go to this specific one, right? Because I want to view
Oh.
that one blog. So I need to get
Yeah.
the ID there. So let's say blog.id. Let's see if that works. Share the screen. Can you guys see this okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, if I reload, all those turn blue to show me that the links worked. And now if I click on them, it takes me to that page. Click on this, takes me to that page because I'm getting the blog ID here. So blog 2, blog ID there. Blog 3, blog ID there. Does that make sense to everybody?
Could you go over it one more time? Sorry.
Yeah, no, not a problem. So let's share that. Okay, so what I did is I created an A tag, which is a link tag, around my blog title, which is going to turn whatever is between the A opening and closing into a link. And then I set the link to take me to blogs/blog ID. While I have a hold of that blog and I can grab the blog information, that's a good time for me to sort of insert the ID in there. And that matches up to this path where it's blog/some integer that will equal blog ID. And so if I click on the first blog, the blog with the title, sorry, let me see, what was it? First blog created by Purple Slippers. So the blog in all my blogs, the blog title of the first blog is first blog, and it's been created by Purple Slippers, which is the blog.creator.username, and the ID is 1. So when I click on this, I go to blog/1. That goes up here, blog/1, and 1 is given the variable name blog ID and sent to this function here.
And that takes you to the HTML for the view blog. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, first it takes me to here. This is 1 because that's what I sent through the URL. That, whoops, gets turned into 1. So my blog.objects.get, I get the blog object with the ID of 1, and then I send it through to my context, which shows up here with my blog ID 1. Does that make sense?
Yes, and then going back to the blogs.html,
Mhm.
that URL of the /blogs with the integer and the ID.
This
That's
here?
what took you. That's what made that made the link like the clickable link, right? Where it took you there.
Well, yeah, yes and no. I don't want to answer your question wrong. So this is telling Django to expect a URL that consists of blogs/some number. And then whatever that number is, in my code here, call it blog ID. So in this case, I am sending it the blog ID of the blog that I'm currently looking at in the list. And again, these names are completely arbitrary. I could call this one cow pie, and it would be fine with that as long as here in my views, I called this cow pie, and I wanted to refer to it by calling this cow pie, because those are all the same thing.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Does anybody else have any questions about that?
So on that URLs pie file, so I'm trying to follow that. So you've got path blogs/integer blog ID. If you were to change it to cow pie, you're still okay with doing that, even though it's not a number, because it's established that it's an integer.
Because this says that I'm going to get some number, and this is saying what this is telling Django what to name that number in the same way that like x equals 12 is telling Python, hey, this number 12, call it x, and now I can do things with it. So, you know, x plus 2 is going to give me 14.
Okay.
In the same way, I'm saying, hey, Django, I'm going to pass you some integer, some number, and I want you to call that blog ID. So that when you get over here to my views, I can call it blog ID, and I know, you know, that's my reference point. So I'm going to refer to that number as blog ID. I'm going to refer to that number as blog ID. And again, if I called it something else, like cowpie, it's still referring to the number.
Good. Thank you.
I would just have, these would all have to be the same because they're trying to refer to the same number. And this is the exact same as saying, you know, x equals 12, x plus 2. If I wanted to print that, I would get, you know, I would get a 14. If I changed x to anything else, that would be fine, but I'd have to change that to match because these are referring to the same number here. Right? Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, of course. I know sometimes this can seem confusing because we're dealing with the same thing on different pages. But as long as you can sort of visualize where the information is going, it will make it a lot easier. Let's see. This is going to be blog ID. All right, so let's see. The last thing we wanted to do was make a blog editor. So let's do that real quick. Make it page, new file. Oops. And I'm going to sort of copy the thing that we used to create a blog because I know it's going to be very similar. So let's change some of this stuff. Blog editor. Why do I keep doing that? We will grab this. We'll make it edit a blog. Change the title. Edit the content. And then let's not be able to change who made the blog because that's not going to change. So we're going to delete that. And then we don't want to see all the blogs. All right, so this is essentially the same form we had to create a blog, but we're going to now use it to edit a blog. But before that, we want to be able to grab that blog out of the blog, grab that specific blog, right? So we're going to do it in a very similar way that we did this. So context is going to be equal to blog to edit. And that will be blog.objects.get where ID is equal to blog ID, because that, again, is what's being passed through here. And then we want to render our HTML page. So blog editor.html and our context. All right, and this is going to be here. So if we go blogs, edit, ID, it will take us to our HTML page. But let's fill this with the information that we want. So how could we do that, you think? Since the blog that we're going to look at already has a title and it already has content, how can we show that? Because we don't want it to be blank, right?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. Right now, if we, here, let me change this real quick, sorry. This is going to go to edit blog. Right now, if we show this form, it is going to be completely blank. So here I can actually, I think it should be good to show. It's going to be blogs. Yeah, so let me share that screen with you. All right, can you guys see this?
Yes.
All right, so right now I'm on blogs edit 2. So I'm on my second blog, which is this one. And it has a name, it has some content.
Oh,
None
do
of
you want
that.
that input to be already pre-populated with what it currently has before the
Yeah,
edit?
exactly. Because right now, let's say I want to
Oh.
edit that blog and I was like, oh man, what's my title? If I press edit right now, it's going to deliver blank information. And I don't want to blank out my blog, but I don't want to have to remember everything that I put before. So how can I use the fact that I'm accessing the blog to pre-populate?
Your value will be in double brackets.
All right, let's see. So let's start title. So in here, value.
Yes, and then wouldn't it be like double brackets in quotes title?
It would be blog to edit dot title. All right, let's see if that works. All right, you guys see this?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so if I reload, oh, look at that. The
Boom.
title of that blog is now showing up as an input field. Awesome. So let's do that for the content as well. So value equals blog to edit dot text. Let's actually say in here, edit blog to edit dot creator / dot username. So this should add the username of the person whose blog it is. Let's see how that works. So if we reload this, there we go. Edit Rubber Baby Buggy Bumpers blog. We can change the title and we can edit the content. Right now, if I press this, it won't do anything because we haven't set up the edit function. So let's do that real quick. Does anybody have any questions about how this is working so far?
You mind going through it again? I'm sorry, I just got lost.
Yeah, no worries. Is there anything in particular that you're lost on?
Displaying like the title and stuff like that, really.
Okay. So we are grabbing our blog object that we want to edit right here, and we're passing it through our context, just like we do when we want to view it, when we want to view a blog. So I have access to all the attributes of that blog to edit. That being said, I can grab things out of the blog, like the creator's username, and I can put that as the title. So let me share that real quick.
And blog to edit was that variable in the function, right, that you said?
In the context, yep. So I'm grabbing the username, grabbing the creator's username, and I'm putting it there. So that works exactly like in the same way that this is working.
Mhm.
I have access to that blog object. I'm grabbing its attributes. But I also want the form to pre-populate. So what I'm doing there is I'm taking those values of those attributes and I'm putting it in as the value, the preset value for my input type. Now, typically, the value is set by the user. So when I go to the blog creator, the input right now is blank. And as I start to fill it in, that becomes the value when I press create. And again, the blog content. That becomes the value of the name content.
Mhm.
And the same thing with the users. So when I create that, that becomes filled in. But now, when I edit, since it already has a title and it already has content, I don't want those to be blank. So I can pre-populate them with the information that is already a part of that object. And then if I decide to delete it, whatever's in there becomes the new input, or it becomes the new value.
So with that value and the Jinja saying, "Oh, grab the title and grab the text," that's what pre-populates that page.
Exactly. So if we go to the editor, we're saying, hey, have a default value of the thing that is already the title of that blog.
Mhm.
But anything I type into that space will overwrite this value, which is how I can change it.
Okay.
And if I put something else here, let's say I put hello instead of that, I save this, and I go to share my editor, and I reload this, I get hello, because that's now the default value.
Okay.
And so you could do that on forms. Let's say you were making a login and registration form. You could have your label say, like, put in your name here, and then inside the form itself, you could have a value that says something like, name here, please,
Mhm.
if you wanted to. And when
Then
we go
that
back,
load the page.
when they look at the page, it prompts them, name
Okay.
here, please. You just have to be careful with that, because if they just press submit, then they're saying that their name is name here, please.
Okay.
All right. Does that make sense to everybody else? All right.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So I know that I want this form to take me to this. So blogs slash, no, these are my renders, sorry. Edit blog, but I also need to know which blog I'm editing. So I'm going to say edit blog int blog ID. And then I need to pass that through here. So edit blog. And then since I have access to all the attributes of that blog, I can just pass it in like we did before. This should be changed back. Edit title. And so now if I submit this form, I should be sent here to edit blog with that integer, which is going to take me to views edit blog. So let's go there. Use edit blog, which is going to get a request and a blog ID. And then how do I use that to edit the blog? Anybody have any ideas? Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to grab the blog, right? I want to grab it out of the database. So let's say blog is equal to blog.blog objects.get, where ID is equal to what? It's equal to blog ID, which is coming from here, which in turn is coming from here, which itself is coming from here. Does that make sense? We all good?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so now that we have this blog item, we can now start to set its attributes, right? So the first thing we want to do is say blog.title. And what do we want to do with it? We want to set it, right? So what are we trying to set it to? Anybody? Anybody have any ideas? We are going to set it to the information that was on the form.
Are you trying to set it or to get information, essentially?
Well, kind of both. Right now, I'm assuming that the form has been filled out for the edit blog, to edit the blog. So this form should be filled out, and they have hit submit at this point because they have been sent to this URL, which will only happen if they hit this button. And that has sent them to here, which is the function that I am working in now.
Okay.
So that being said, I can assume that there is information on the form to be set to these attributes of my blog object that I want to edit. So this is my variable holding on to that blog object that I want to edit. And now I can grab the attributes of this object and start to change them. And I'm going to change them based on the form information, which is given to me in a post.
Okay, that grabs the title. The first one grabbed the blog itself.
Yeah, so this grabs the blog itself, and then the title of that object I am now setting to whatever is passed through via the form.
Whatever was submitted.
Yep. So here we have our model. So text is going to be equal to request.post.
So
I call that, I think I called it context or content. There we go. Content. And then what else do I need to do?
So is the blog.text capitalized because it's capitalized in the class?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Because I capitalized this attribute and I'm referring back to this this blueprint essentially.
Mm-hmm.
When referring to the blog object, I need to make sure that it's spelled the same and capitalized in the same way, things like that.
Okay.
Okay, so with this, I've changed the title to whatever was passed through in the form as the title, and I've changed the content or the text to whatever is passed through as the content of the form. What else do I need to do?
Use the Python built-in method to save it. So blog.save.
Perfect, thank you. All right, and then what do I want to do?
Return redirect.
Yeah, exactly. And where do we want to redirect? What do you think makes sense?
To blogs?
To all blogs, or maybe why don't we just look at the blog that we just edited? So blogs.
Okay.
Well, it's blogs, and then we need the ID, right?
Blog ID.
We just do it like this.
No, integer blog ID.
Oh, you have to put the integer.
I have to put the integer.
Double
Like this?
quotes.
No, we don't need
Double
integer.
bracket.
Oh, okay.
Curly
what do I-
brackets.
I don't think we need integer because blog ID itself is an integer, right?
Well, it is an integer, yep. So we can't just pass it through like this because this is a string and it will literally pass through blogs.
Yes, so how about we just write integer blog ID there? Or
Well, we have a blog ID and it is an integer. So we want to pass this variable through the string. The way we typically do that is through an f string,
okay.
which tells Python that this is a string, but to fill this portion of it with whatever integer is inside the curly brackets.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so you guys think this is going to work? Let's find out. Let's test it. So let's go to my blog editor. All right, so this is blog 4, Pink Elephant's blog. You guys are saying this, right?
Yeah.
All right, so the title is yet another blog. The content is even more contentier. So let's change the title to an edited blog. And let's leave the content the same for now. So if I hit edit, so what's going on here?
It's request method pose.
Oh, I know what I did. I don't think I saved this. Whoops. All right, let's try again. An edited blog. There we go. Now we're on the blog page. We have our brand new title. And the content's the same. And the creator's the same. And the created date, I'm guessing that's the same. It looks very, very wrong. I don't know why it says it's 10 p.m., but I'm not going to worry about that right now.
Is your computer set to 10 p.m.?
Nope. Fine. I'm not gonna worry about it.
Cody,
All
troubleshoot.
Yeah. Cody, help.
It has to do with something in the settings.py, which by default sets the time zone to UTC.
Oh yeah, we had to deal with that.
Yeah.
I'm still not going to worry about it.
But yeah, not the most important thing.
All right, so let's say we want to edit our content. Even more content here than before. Look at that. So we've edited that. All right, so let's make it a little easier to get there. Let's add an edit button to this, and let's make it so that if we click on this, we have a nice little edit button down here that will take us there. What do you guys think is the best way to do that? Any ideas?
Similar to like the TV shows, like how next to the show there will be a hyperlink for edit or delete and etc.
Yep.
So
we could do a link that takes us to, where do we want this to take us? Which of these?
we're still on your
This is going to, oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so we're here. This is the view blog page. So this is going to be to view a single blog. Create an A tag. And where do I want it to go? Which of these paths do I want this to take me to?
You want to take it to edit blog?
To this one?
Yes. No. Blogs.edit /edit integer blog. Yeah, this one.
Yeah, exactly. This is the one I want. So that's going to be blogs, edit, and then I want the ID number. So pineapple.id.
What is your name? Pineapple. Okay.
Yeah, I named this one pineapple. All right, so if I go there, I load this, I have a nice little edit. I don't really like it looking like that.
So you went from the blog editor and then you added this into the view blog, which will then go to that, right?
Sorry, what?
You worked from the blog editor, you added this URL into the view blog HTML, and then that will like connect those, correct?
Yeah. So this, let me see. There we go. So if I click on edit, it's going to take me here, which is going to take me to the edit page for that specific blog. So blogs 4, edit, blog edit 4. And now let's add one here. So for all blogs.
Still on the other
Oh,
one.
yeah, sorry, thanks. Let's add a nice little edit button here. So we'll essentially copy that equals, we want to go to blogs, edit, and then the ID of this one, which is going to be, because we are looking at the blog and all blogs, it's going to be that blog.id, right? And we'll just write edit here. If we reload this, show you guys. If we reload this, now we have our nice little edit button here. We can click on this and go to our edit page. All right, and now we have one last thing to do real quick, and that was to delete. So we have this delete blog class or path. We're going to want it to pick out a specific blog. So we're going to add blog ID into the URL. Inside our views, we have our delete blog function here. We'll add blog ID here. And then how do we delete a blog, guys?
Destroy the computer.
Let's avoid that. How else would you delete a blog?
You want to delete it from the database as well?
Yep.
Flush it.
Flush what?
Flush the blog. Flush the blog. I mean, what exactly do you mean by flush what?
Well, I don't. There's a flush method for session. If that,
Oh yeah,
is that what you're talking about?
Yes, flush the session related to that blog ID.
But this isn't in session. We're not using session. I mean, session's a part of this, but we're not using it actively. I want to delete this from my database itself. Does anybody have any ideas on how to do that or where to start?
So same as the saving, you create the method for deleting. So instead of like blog.save, it's blog.delete.
Yes, thank you. Blog ID, and then just blog.delete, right? Just like that?
Yes.
All right, and then we'll redirect back to blogs. All right, so this is expecting a blog ID. This is expecting a blog ID. Now let's add a delete button. This is going to be very similar to our edit URL. We're going to add delete blog, and then we are going to grab the blog ID. say delete. That's fine. All right, so let's see if that works. So if we go to our blogs and we reload, there we go. We have a nice little delete button. If we delete one, it goes away. Let's add that button to our blog page itself. Oops. Come on. Let's just copy. Oh, stop it.
So here you can delete anyone's blog or
Yeah, I'm not doing any verifications for this. I'm trying to make it go a
Okay.
little faster.
Okay.
So we'll add that there, and I'm going to wrap this in a p tag real quick. That should be a little different. And if we go to one of our blogs, oops. Oh, did you guys not see any of the code that I just did?
Nope.
I'm sorry. I'll show you what I did. You guys can see this now, right?
Yes.
I just added an A tag that looks very similar to our edit. It just says delete blog with the blog ID. And I added it to our view blog HTML page. So if we go back there and we go to a specific blog, we now have a delete page, which, oh, I know what I did. What I did is I forgot that I'm naming all these things different variables. And so it is not blog ID, it is pineapple ID. Go back. Look at this, delete. There we go. Our first blog has been deleted. All right, I think that should about wrap up our time. Does anybody have any questions, anything that I can go over? I think we've covered a lot of database manipulation.
Can you show where else you added that real quickly, like that last part you did?
The delete?
Yeah, like
So I
like
added,
the last minute's worth.
okay, yeah. So I'll show you on the HTML and then I will show you the code. So I added it right here so that when I'm looking at all my blogs, it just pops up.
Mhm.
So I can delete it from there. And then if I click on the specific blog, it's next to my edit button. So I can delete it there. And those, in all my blogs, I added here to the end.
Okay.
In fact, I can break that down there so it's a little bit more readable. And so it's right next to my edit button. And it just goes to delete blog ID, because blog is the variable of the blog object in all blogs that I'm using, that I'm iterating through. And then for the specific blog, I just added another link, delete blog, and then I had to change that to pineapple.id because pineapple is the name that I'm adding to my context for that specific blog object. But pineapple ID in this case and blog ID in this case should refer to essentially the same thing. Did that help?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, cool. Anybody else have any questions before we finish up here? Nothing at all? Alrighty, Cody, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, I stopped sharing.
Cool.